Welcome to Network Professionals. Hello everyone, I'm Engineer Javiria Oftab, CISCO Certified Instructor. Welcome back to our channel Network Professionals. In the previous lecture we will discuss about the Chapter 3 Advanced Computer Hardware. We will start this lecture from the point where we left off in the previous lecture. CPU architectures and operation. Multi-core processors. Multi-core processors have two or more processors on the same integrated circuit. Integrating the processors on the same chip creates a very fast connection between them. Multi-core processors execute instructions more quickly than single-core processors. Instructions can be distributed to all the processors at the same time. RAM is shared between the processors because the cores reside on the same chip. Multi-core processors conserve power and produce less heat than multiple single-core processors, thus increasing performance and efficiency. Another feature found in some CPUs is an integrated graphics processing unit or GPU. The GPU is a chip that performs the rapid mathematical calculations required to render graphics. A GPU can be integrated or dedicated. Integrated GPUs are often directly embedded on the CPU and is dependent on system RAM, while the dedicated GPU is a separate chip with its own video memory dedicated exclusively for graphical processing. The benefit of integrated GPUs is cost and less heat dissipation. Integrated GPUs are good at less complex tasks like watching videos and processing graphical documents, but are not best suited for intense gaming applications. CPUs have also been enhanced using the NX bit, also called the execute disable bit. This feature can protect areas of memory that contain operating system files from malicious attacks by malware. CPU cooling mechanisms. Case fan. A case fan is used to increase the airflow in the computer case and allows more heat to be removed. Some cases have multiple fans with cool air being brought in, while another fan is blowing out hot air. CPU heatsink. A heatsink has a large surface area with metal fins in order to draw heat away from the CPU and dissipate it into the surrounding air. Thermal compound is placed between the heatsink and the CPU to increase the efficiency of heat transfer. A CPU heatsink without a fan is known as passive cooling. CPU fan. It is common to install a fan on top or within a heatsink in order to move heat away from the metal fins. A CPU heatsink with a fan is known as active cooling. Graphics card cooling system. Video adapter cards have a graphics equals processing unit, GPU, that generates excessive heat. Water cooling system. A metal plate is placed over the processor and water is pumped over the top to collect the heat the processor generates. The water is pumped to a radiator to disperse the heat into the air, and then the water is recirculated. RAID concepts. Computers can implement redundant array of independent disks, RAID technology. RAID provides a way to store data across multiple storage devices for availability, reliability, capacity, and redundancy and/or performance improvement. The following terms describe how RAID stores data on the various disks. Striping enables data to be distributed across multiple drives with a significant performance increase. However, the failure of a single drive means that all data is lost. Mirroring stores duplicate data on one or more other drives and provides redundancy so that the failure of a drive does not cause the loss of data. Parity provides basic error checking and fault tolerance by storing checksums separately from data and enables the reconstruction of lost data without sacrificing speed and capacity. Double parity provides fault tolerance for up to 2 failed drives. RAID levels. There are several levels of RAID available. These levels use mirroring, striping, and parity in different ways. Higher levels of RAID, such as RAID 5 or 6, use striping and parity in combination to provide speed and to create large volumes. RAID levels higher than 10 combine lower RAID levels. Ports, connectors, and cables. Legacy ports. Serial, used for connecting various peripherals such as printers, scanners, modems, and console connections to network devices. Parallel, used for connecting to various peripheral devices, commonly printers. Game, used for connecting a joystick input. PS2, used for connecting a keyboard and mouse. Purple for keyboard and green for the mouse. Audio ports. Analog ports were used for connecting stereo system, microphone and speakers, headphones. Video and graphic ports. VGA, an analog port and commonly the oldest graphics port still used on some PCs. DVI, provides support for transmitting uncompressed digital video. Includes DVI-A, analog, DVI-D, digital, and DVI-I, integrated. HDMI carries the same video information as DVI but is also capable of providing digital audio and control signals. DisplayPort, designed to replace both DVI and VGA for computer monitors while including high-bandwidth video and audio signals. USB cables and connectors. Over the years, USB has evolved with various standards. USB 1.0, USB 2.0, USB 3.0, and USB 3.2. USB Type A. The typical rectangular connector found on almost all desktop and laptop computers, TVs, game consoles, and media players. Mini USB. A rectangular connector with a small indentation on each side that is being replaced with the micro USB connector. Micro USB, a common connector on smartphones, tablets, and other devices. This connector has two corners pushed in at an angle. USB Type B. This connector has a square shape with beveled exterior corners and an extra notch at the top. Used to connect printers or external hard drives. USB Type C. This connector is rectangular with four rounded corners and is the newest USB interface. Used as a multi-purpose cable to attach different kinds of peripheral devices to a PC. Lightning. This connector is a small proprietary 8-pin connector used by Apple mobile devices such as iPhones, iPads, and iPods for both power and data. SATA cables and connectors. SATA cable. One end plugs into a SATA port on a motherboard and the other end into the back of an internal storage device. The SATA data cable does not provide power, so a SATA power cable is needed in addition to power the internal storage device. SATA data and power cables are keyed so they can only be installed in one way. eSATA cable. This cable is used to connect external SATA drives and is a keyed connector. eSATA adapter. An expansion card is commonly used to provide eSATA ports. Twisted pair cables and connectors. Twisted pair cable is used in wired Ethernet networks and older telephone networks. Twisted pairs. Unshielded twisted pair, UTP, cabling is the most common form of twisted pair cabling and uses color-coded insulated copper wires. Shielded twisted pair, STP, also uses color-coded insulated copper wires but includes foil or braiding as well. RJ45. Each end of a UTP cable must be terminated with an RJ45 connector so it can be plugged into an Ethernet port. RJ11. Older telephone networks used a 4-wire UTP cable terminated with an RJ11 connector. Coax cables and connectors. Coax cable construction. Coaxial cable has an inner center conductor surrounded by insulating material. The insulating material is surrounded by a foil shield which is used as an outer conductor and also shields against electromagnetic interference, EMI. RG6. A heavy gauge cable with insulation and shielding for high bandwidth, high frequency applications, internet, cable TV, and satellite TV. RG59. A thinner cable similar to RG6, used for low bandwidth and lower frequency applications, analog video and CCTV. BNC. An older connector, used with digital or analog audio or video. SCSI and IDE cables and connectors. Small Computer Systems Interface, SCSI, is a standard for connecting peripheral and storage devices in a daisy-chained format. External SCSI cable. Used for connecting older external SCSI devices, scanners and printers. Internal SCSI cable. Common SCSI connector for internal hard drives with 50 pins arranged in 2 rows and attached to a ribbon cable. IDE cable. Visually similar to the internal SCSI cable, but commonly with 3 40-pin connectors. One connector connects to the IDE port on the motherboard and 2 for attaching IDE drives. Monitors. Monitor characteristics. There are many types of computer monitors available and they vary by use, size, quality, clarity, brightness and more. Computer monitors are usually described by screen size, the diagonal measurement of the screen, i.e., top left to bottom right, in inches. Resolution. Resolution is measured by the number of horizontal and vertical pixels. For example, 1920 x 1080, i.e., 1080p, means it has 1920 horizontal pixels and 1080 vertical pixels. Monitor resolution. This relates to the amount of information that can be displayed on a screen. Native resolution. This identifies the best monitor resolution for the specific monitor. Native mode. This term describes when the image sent to the monitor by the video adapter card matches the native resolution of the monitor. Connectivity. Older monitors used VGA or DVI while newer monitors support HDMI and DisplayPort. Next part will be continued in the next lecture. Thanks for watching. Subscribe our channel Network Professionals for more informative videos.